Another pollution problem in China is water pollution. So you can see these beautiful, colorful pictures. The colors are green, purple, red, and orange. Looks like a rainbow, right? But this rainbow color is indeed not very beautiful. It's toxic. But this rainbow color pictures is indeed not very beautiful because those substances in the rivers are very toxic. These are the chemicals in the water which give these different colors. But there are some areas where there is not enough rainfall because of the climate change. In the past, there may be enough rainfall, but now no longer. So this may be caused by the increasing populations, more demand of fresh water, the rapid development of economy. There are more industry, more factories, and consume more water. And the worst is that some factories may simply discharge those dirty water into the river. So it will increase the damage of the good quality water and also contaminate the rivers. As a result, water in the river or in the underground water may no longer be clean enough for people to drink. So let's see how serious is this problem in this news report.
Millions of Chinese residents have been fed up with the thick smog that's blanketing the sky, but pollution is also lurking down below. The country's water resources is under threat, and citizens are blaming businesses and governments who have blindly pursued economic growth at the expense of the environment.
It's easy money for any official who dares to take the challenge. An entrepreneur in Zhejiang province wants the environmental chief to take a dip in a river that has been heavily polluted by industrial waste. If the chief stays in for 20 minutes, Jin Zhengming says he'll pay him 200,000 yuan. That's around $32,000. It follows growing fury on the Chinese internet over the country's worsening water pollution. Clean water is harder and harder to come by thanks to decades of unchecked industrial development.
If officials don't look after the environment, they may have to answer questions. But if they don't push ahead with economic growth, it'll impact the amount of money the local government makes. So the environment has been sacrificed, while the economy and the government's revenue grows.
In eastern Shandong province, environmental activist Deng Fei said on his Weibo microblog account that factories in Weifang City have been pumping wastewater underground. Weifang officials responded by offering tips to anyone with information about this. But on Saturday, Deng claimed that authorities had detained up to 40 people, including reporters, over the pollution claims.
The local government is trying to protect its economic interests and will use its position to suppress these types of supervisory activities from the community. They're stopping different opinions from being aired.
State-run China Daily reported on Sunday that up to 40% of rivers in China are seriously polluted. 20% is so toxic that it's unsafe to come in contact with the water. And it's not just rivers. 1/3 of China's water comes from underground sources. State-run Xinhua reports that of underground water tested in 118 cities, only 3% is actually clean.
Then how can we solve the problem of water pollution in China? We can do it by regulations to ban those factories from discharging dirty water into the river directly, to build more infrastructures like canals and dams. And the Three Gorges Dam is one of the very major infrastructure facilities in China. And the very large-scale dam is built across the Changjiang River. Therefore, in the upstream, it becomes a lake. And those habitats, like forests and grassland above this upstream, will now all covered by water. So what will be the consequence? What are the problems of this dam? On one hand, it can help to solve the water resource problem. Now they have enough water for irrigations and also generations of hydroelectricity. But at the same time, some animals will be killed or even extinct. And the biodiversity of this area will be damaged. What is biodiversity? The dam is 1.3 miles long, run across the Yangtze River. And in the upstream, all this area will be flooded, will be covered by water. So those animals originally living in the forest will disappear. And the number of species in those areas will be reduced. and the biodiversity in this area will drop. So how can we calculate the biodiversity before and after this dam is built? According to this research paper, about 162 different species will disappear after these dams have been built, and 44 out of these 162 endemic species will also lose their habitat. So we can look into this paper to understand how to calculate the biodiversity index. It's a number defined by these equations that measures the level of biodiversity in an habitat. Let's see this example. You can download this paper in Moodle, and the calculations of biodiversity index is given by this equation. H, the biodiversity index, is equals to the summations of pi multiplied by log of pi, and this pi is the populations of a specific species I. Let's consider these two examples. In one habitat, there are 5 species, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In another habitat, there are 7 species, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So which habitat do have more different species? Which one have a better biodiversity? Your first answer may be the second one, right? Because there are 7 species. Compared with another habitat, there are only 5 species. Then in terms of the number of different species, the second habitat do better. However, if you look into the number, in the first habitat, the number of species are 26, 32, 45, 18, and 59. In another habitat, the population distribution is 1, 3, 7, 4, 2, and then all of a sudden 80, and then 2. So one of the species, number 6, dominate the whole population. What if we plug the number into the equations? So we need to first find out P. P is the populations of the first species over the total populations. So it's 26 divided by 160. And then we can take a log of this P, which is negative 1.82. So put them on the table. So P and then log of P, these two numbers multiply together with negative 0.3. So add up this number together is negative 1.56. So the summations of P multiplied by log of P, where P is the relative populations of that particular species. In another habitat, where there are 7 species, now watch out, because this species number 6 is dominant in this population, while the populations of the other 6 species are very small. Therefore, when you add the numbers together, the biodiversity index, because those numbers are small, is only negative 0.89. If we compare the two habitats, the second one is 0.89 and the first one is 1.56. In other words, the biodiversity of the first habitat is much better than the second one. So we can make use of these equations to help us to evaluate which habitat has a better biodiversity, which reflects how good the environment is. An environment with better biodiversity means the environment is cleaner, better, and more different lives can survive in this environment.